Hey, how you doing? What's up? I'll jump off. No way. You're right. You're right. How's it going? What's your name? Sorry? Paul, nice to meet you, mate. Have a good one. What a cool dude. I absolutely love that. Oh, I'm already sweating like a pig, man. This day is so warm. I've been asked this question by so many people. I would say like it's probably in like top 3 or the top 4. Definitely the top 3.3% of questions I get asked. Other questions would be sort of like, how gay are you? Is Gabby actually just like a trophy wife to hide your gayness? Both answers, of course, yes. Mate, everyone's so nice today. Thank you very much. Yeah, you know, I actually paid Gabby a lot of money. So I get asked this question a lot, like, okay, I'm buying a new motorcycle, what are the things I should look out for? And well, there are quite a few things that are really obvious. Like, number 1 is obviously, before you go to check out a bike, make sure you've done like an HPI check, or whatever the equivalent is in your country. The HPI check, it's pretty boring, to be fair, not much pizzazz related to it, but it's important because what it does is it shows if the bike has any outstanding finance on it. If it does, so like if the person financed the bike, they may have a loan title on the bike, which basically means that even if you buy it off this guy, you don't own it. Legally speaking, you don't own shit. They would have to pay it off before you actually bought it for you to legally own it. I love this roundabout up here. You see everyone else does all the fucking tire marks and shit. I can't wait to take this bike to the Nürburgring. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. Because this bike's meant to be on a track. Like, that is literally what it's meant to do. It's not meant to be fucked around on, like, little English country roads with a slightly overweight rider on it. Oh, this Octavia wants to party. So yeah, and the other thing HPI checks can also do is they also make sure that the bike's never been stolen. They check if it's ever been written off. All of that is registered against the bike's registration plate, so all good shit, worth checking out. HPI checks are also cool because they can basically tell you or give you a little bit of advice to see if the bike has basically been faked on the MOT mileage. So it will show up like all the previous MOTs and like if there's any discrepancy between the mileage, which happens on a lot of older bikes, but there you go. The more you know, the more you know. Another thing you should do before you actually go and see the bike is to check out the servicing intervals on the bike and see if there's a full or part service history with the motorcycle. Different bikes, different engines have different maintenance intervals. So I'm talking about the major maintenance checks. Most notably, it's the valve clearance checks. Check what the mileage is of the bike and check what the major service intervals are. Let's say on this bike, for instance, the valve check clearances have to happen at 15,000 miles, the first one, right? So if I see this bike on sale with 15,000 miles on it or 16,000 miles on it, the first question I'll ask the guy is, when were the valves done? Were the valves done? If he says no, you know you have to factor that cost of that valve check into the cost of the bike because you need to do it. So that could be like an extra three to £500 on top of the actual cost of the bike. There we go, boy. What the fuck is that? That's the CB F125, I think. It's a nice evening, time to go the long way home. Taking the ZX6R off-road now. So when you actually arrive and you actually see the bike for the first time, what are the things you should look for? Well, basically, what I always do is I always go up to the bike and I always check to make sure that it's cold. Always check to make sure the engine's cold. Obviously, this is fucking hot, like a hot thing right now because it's baking and I've obviously been riding for a while. Make sure it's cold and start that bitch up. Make sure she starts. There's no weird clanky noises coming from the engine. There's no weird clanky noises coming from underneath the tank. Make sure that there's no weird noises coming from the radiator, which is this bit of metal in here. You'll notice any imperfections if they come out, basically. Let it run for a bit, make sure it warms up, see what happens, and watch it on the temperature gauge get to like 100. So if the fan kicks on and the temperature starts going down, then you know the radiator's working good. That's important, man. Next step is to basically just make sure that like the standard, you know, the wearables, fuck me, what's the word? Consumables. Boom, the consumables. Make sure the consumables are not worn. So by consumables, brake pads, make sure they're not worn. Make sure that the tires looking good. And the chain, and the oil, of course. How can you check your brake pads? Really fucking simple, Jeffrey. You look in that bitch and you see the actual meat of the brake pads. I don't know if you can see, but just see how much meat there is on the brake pads left. Make sure there's a legal minimum. Check the same for the front. These have just been changed. There's a shitload of meat on these bitches. We love a bit of meat. Next step is check the brake fluid. If it's dark and looks like arse water, if it looks like your grandma's just taken a massive shit in the toilet not flushed, you should change that. Next step is the oil. To do that, on my bike, the oil sight glass is down there. I will just hold the front brake so it doesn't roll forward, tilt the bike up so that it's level on the balancing point, and then if it's in between the two notches, you're all Gucci gang. Putting it down there is a little bit more complicated. You don't want the bike to roll forwards. Next step is the chain. Make sure the chain and the sprockets look decent. Chain should be rust free. If it's not, you should ask for money off. Make sure that also the teeth on the sprockets are not like shark teeth. If they're like curve forwards, if they're not like proper triangles, you need to change them, and the chain as well. Tires. Now there's a great way to know if your bike has been spanked by the cunt, which is chicken strips and tire wear. So obviously I have a little bit of chicken strips here, more like chicken McNuggets, but that's because I've been riding like an absolute pussy commuting to work, to and from work on this bad boy. So, you know, I have got it lent over at some point in the past, but not for a while, to be honest with you. We'll change that though at the Nürburgring. But basically you want to make sure that if there's a thick area here of unused tire, so it's like really glossy, you know the bike's not been ragged, because if it's like all chewed up down the sides, there's a high chance the bike's been raced or the guy has really been ragging the shit out of it. Also tire wear, tread wear indicators. So if you see this little like notch in there, that's a tire wear indicator, and they'll be all over the bike on different parts of the wheels. So this bit here, if the top part of the tire basically is level with that notch in there, you need to change the tires because they're not legal. Fork seals, check those bitches, make sure they're not leaking. Put your hand here, wipe them. If you come up with like an oily paste, an oily layer, you know they need to be changed, because that can be quite expensive because the forks have to be dismantled. Next step as well is to actually get on the bike. You can just turn the handlebars from left lock to right lock. If you feel that there's any like notchiness, so if the handlebars like cluck at some point, or if there's any noises, you know the bike's been dropped. So the headstock bearings are fucked in there, so you need to have those replaced. And you should be all Gucci a gang, as they say. Me, I'm so warm right now. I need to go, and I'm gonna like peel off my leathers like an orange. 3, 2, 1, warp speed! Oh, 30 mile an hour zone. So yeah guys, those are my top tips to making sure that you don't get your ass royally slammed by any scam artists on the internet, and Lord knows there are so many of them. Me scusi.